Oshawott might just be the weakest link in its trio, so let's see how it compares to the other scores. We're rating them all, at least in battle. They're all fairly even, but Oshawott has one of the weirder stat spreads of not being very bulky, nor very fast, as well as being a mixed attacker, which is all more or less fine, since all it really has before evolving anyway is tackle and water gun. In Unova, you always have the disadvantage in the first gym regardless, so that also doesn't really matter. Oshawott is fine, but nothing special in battle. 3 stars. And like every other starter, it's either available for the whole game or not at all, so it gets what's essentially a version exclusive penalty and 4.5 stars in availability. Oshawott and its line are of course based on otters while taking inspiration from samurai. They use their shells as weapons, which to be fair is a very easy and short line to draw as it makes a lot of sense. Otters use shells as tools, but it's just not as interesting as the others in its trio. 3 stars. But design is where I think this is easily the worst in its trio. And it's not that I don't think that it's cute, but that it kind of goes too far into the cute little baby otter thing. Like, this is a baby. This is just a baby, and I don't want to send this little it's so ugly that it's cute looking baby into battle. It also doesn't really portray samurai at all, or even like a child in training to be one, nor does it even really look like a starter Pokemon, which normally balances cute and capable. The shell on its belly even looks more like it's a logo or design on the front of his little sky blue onesie. But you guys said that I need someone else to rate Oshawott's design, so I'm bringing in the experts. Okay guys, this is Oshawott. How many stars are we giving it?
Oshawott.
Henry, what do you... 1? Oh, okay, that's a bit harsh. What do you think? 1? Okay, I don't think we'll go with 1. These kids are harsh. I think 2.5 is fair. But that means Oshawott gets the final score of 3.25 stars overall, by far the lowest in its trio, and lands in the bottom 5. Oshawott was the worst in its trio, but Dewott is not only the best in its trio, but among the best middle stage starters, period. We're rating them all, and sadly I don't think that it's actually the best in battle at least. It has a solid 75 in attack and HP and 83 in special attack, but is otherwise not very fast or bulky. But its move pool actually kind of capitalizes on that. Razor Shell is an amazing move on its own that early, but getting Revenge to take advantage of its lower speed and Aqua Jet to avoid it is really well done. Its matchups though aren't great. It's fine into Gym 2, awful into Gym 3's Ace, awful into Gym 4, and pretty amazing into Gym 5, and not much changes in the sequels. 3.5 stars. It will get the same 4.5 stars in availability as every other starter, and its concept is the first category where I think Dewott is the best in its line. It of course is still based on otters and samurais, but Dewott at least takes that extra step of detail with its dual wielding of these razor shells being based on Tessenjutsu, I think, the martial art of wielding Japanese war fans, which sure, still not the craziest line to draw from an otter using shells as tools, but definitely cooler. 3.5 stars. Design, however, is where I feel like Dewott is easily the best in its trio and its evolution line, as well as being among the coolest middle stage starters and maybe even just middle stage Pokemon in general. It portrays the idea of Samurai Otter far better than Oshawott or even Samurott, with the shells being sheathed on its hips and the darker fur starting to look like samurai armor. It also has the stereotypical top knot of fur and really just in general looks awesome. It's cute enough to be your little starter companion, but clearly capable of battle. 5-star design easily. Giving Dewott the final score of 4.125 stars overall, and it did manage to be the best in its trio. Samurott is sadly just pretty mid for a final stage starter Pokemon. We're rating them all, and that remains true for its battle prowess. It kind of tries to do the Emboar thing of slower, bulkier, mixed attacker, but just kind of balances out its stats even more, which usually is not a very good thing. But that's not to say Samurott is bad by any means, when hundreds in both attacks paired with a combo that makes every water type at least decent, Surf and Ice Beam. But also the rest of its move pool is pretty solid. Both Revenge and Aqua Jet play nicely with its awkward speed, and it gets some decent TMs, but surprisingly not much in terms of coverage. It does, however, probably have the best matchups out of the starters against the major fights in Unova, albeit a bit worse in the sequels. Samurott is solid for sure, but just kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. 4 stars in battle prowess. Availability will of course be the starter standard 4.5 stars since it's available for the whole game or not at all. And conceptually it obviously is the continuation of, but kind of also a step back from Dewott. It moves on from otter to sea lion, which fine, plenty of Pokemon change what animal they're based on, but it loses the unique martial arts style shown off by Dewott's dual wielded fans or shells. It still is of course based on a samurai, and its pre-evolutions being otters who use shells as tools makes perfect sense there, but now Samurott is just kind of a samurai sea lion, which is cool, but not all that interesting or cohesive. 3 stars. Design is the next area where it definitely takes a step back from Dewott, who is one of the coolest and best designed middle stage Pokemon, period. The main thing people complain about with Samurott is the fact that it went back on all fours, even though nowadays being bipedal is definitely more hated, but I don't think that that's really the issue. My main complaint is that unless you see those specific animations or videos of Samurott using its little arm, leg, sword, shell things, you would just have no idea that this was supposed to be a samurai Pokemon. It just looks like an armored sea lion with a giant spear-like horn on its head, which again kind of comes out of nowhere in this evolution line. But to be fair, said armor along with the whiskers common among samurai masks do help it look a bit like a grizzled old samurai commander. It's still a really cool looking Pokemon in general, but really loses the grasp on what this line was going for. 4 stars, which grants Samurott the final score of 3.875 stars overall, just barely avoiding the starter's bottom 5, but still the lowest in its trio.